I love it. Yeah, the DJ sets a tone here, but always we endeavor to get guests for you who will really inspire you, give you some nuggets of wisdom that you just never knew were there, and to teach you something new. That's exactly what my next guest will be doing very shortly. Her name is Dorcas Wainaina. She's an amazing woman who has done a lot in her life, and she wants to share her story and also tell you all the facts you need to know about Kenyan human resource. Everybody, please welcome this beautiful woman. How are you?
Kobe.
You look so good. I'm like towering over you.
I know you are.
We're wearing high heels, so.
Yes, you
Hi.
are. Hey.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I love it when guests look so nice and dress up for the show. You look
Thank
lovely
you.
today.
Thank you, Kobe.
Right, Dorcas, you have achieved a lot in your life. If you can just start your story as to how you actually got into HR.
Thank you so much, Kobe, and I'm glad to be here. First of all, I got into HR, I think as a coincidence, to be honest. After university, I graduated University of Nairobi, Bachelor of Education, and I did not have a job, and I wanted to change my career, and so I kept thinking, this thing I hear about human resource management, I said, it sounds nice and fancy. Then I bumped into my brother-in-law somehow, and I told him about it. He said, oh, I know where you should go to school. And I said, I want to go tomorrow. And he gave me contacts, and I went, and I enrolled, and I said, I'll pay school fees. And I went to class, and I was 2 months late. But I photocopied all the notes, and I read, and at the end of that year, 2000, I was the best student for that class.
Amazing.
So I read overnight. That's how I got into HR.
Okay.
Yes.
What is HR, Dorcas, if you can highlight it? I think a lot of us assume that we know what actually human resource is and management of that. Take us through that.
Thank you, Kobe. Human resource, first of all, is anybody who works in an organization. So there are resource, but that is human. Like we talk about financial resources, it's a resource, but it's money. And so the human resource is managed by somebody who has been trained and knows how to manage this human resource that's a human being. One, human beings have emotions. They are not like money. They talk. They think. So the way to manage them is about understanding who they are, analyze them, then deal with them as they come. They change every other day. And so when you are a human resource specialist, what you do is to make sure you have the capability to hire people, recruit them, interview them, give them induction and orientation, clarify their roles and responsibilities, manage their performance, discipline them if there is need to, but also guide them on how to behave in a workplace. Also, you know, when they are leaving, if they resign, let them go with dignity. Say, you know, goodbye, we hope to see you again, because they remain your alumni. And so that is really what a HR specialist should do, besides making sure that they are rewarded accordingly. You know, pay for work done and equal pay for equal value of the work done. That's what we are trained to do, and ensuring fairness or equity, not equal, but equity.
Fantastic. That's the ideal,
Yes.
right? That's the ideal situation.
Yes.
A lot of people who have been employed and looking at our research, you know, a lot of people just feel that the human resource department is often there to protect the company, to protect the board of directors. And you know, sometimes there is that disconnect because it happens, because also that human resource manager is a person.
Yes.
Talk to us about that. When the employees feel that, oh, you know what, this is not working out the way I thought, and I just don't feel that this department is there for me as an employee. It happens, right?
It does happen. Unfortunately, that's not what a competent HR professional should do. Our role is for both. We've got to create a balance, that there's a time to say, this is what really management is doing towards you. It may not serve you because employees have expectations. So sometimes management may not meet them depending on the situation, but it's also how it's communicated. Then when we move to the side of employees, it's also to help employees understand that this is the expectation. This is what the employer is looking for. And also having the employer understand, you know, for instance, you can't wake up and say, I don't want to see that face, fire them. This is a human being. We've got to follow due process to make sure that happens. A human resource professional must always be in the middle as a mediator in situations of workplace.
Okay.
Yes.
Looking for work is a big deal. I've just taken a small survey in our audience here. All right. Shall I do it for you too?
Do it for me.
All right, great. So how many people here are employed? Okay, we have 4. That's a very low number. How many people here, except for the crew, of course, how many people here are unemployed? Majority, right? And how many people here are very happy with their job? There you go. Yeah, see, the number changes very drastically.
Instantly, yeah.
Right, so not that many people are happy. A lot of people are unemployed in this country, and a lot of people are also in the wrong job. Talk to us about where we are in Kenya and why there was such a huge need to readdress the human resource arm of things.
First of all, and so as an executive director of the Institute of Human Resource Management, my mandate is to ensure that we implement the Human Resource Management Professionals Act. It's Act number 52 of 2012. And this act came into being to regulate these professionals in HR and make sure that they do their work as expected, treat people with dignity and with respect. If it's in recruitment, make sure there's fairness, make sure everybody gets an opportunity to get recruited, make sure they don't ask questions that are not sound to ask. For example, asking, and by the way, how old are you? Not acceptable at all. Or where do you come from? Not acceptable. Oh, are you single, married? Absolutely not acceptable. And therefore, if that is our mandate, we are trying to ensure, because one of the biggest problems in our country today is when young people are saying, I need to know somebody to get a job. Truly, I always say you don't need to know somebody to get the job. If you have your own qualification, you have knowledge, you should be able to get a job because there's need for fairness in the workplace in terms of selection. I can give my own story. You know, I stayed home 2 years without a job, having graduated University of Nairobi. And I passed very well, but I didn't have a job. So my parents tried, said, oh, you know, I know somebody, I can go talk to them. I used to look at them and say, you know what, God will help me get a job, so I'm not really even going to think about it. So it took me 2 years. And sometimes I used to sleep without having food. I could take what we call turungi. You know turungi? Is a you know, strong tea. And I could sleep and wake up. Of course, while today people wouldn't believe that, it's because people don't see the foundation. They see the first floor and second floor of the building. But what I would like to say is that you truly, truly don't need to know somebody to hold your hand. Here is what you need to know. While in college, you need to create networks. And who is your network? Maybe a reverend in the church, the deacon in the church, the church elder in your church. That's your network. Remember, the church elders are working. The deacon is working. The deaconess is working. But if you go to church and walk out, you don't greet anybody. You don't say, hi, good morning, how are you? And then they ask, who are you? What do you do? And you say, this is what I do. This is my interest. Nobody will know you and you will not have a network. By having a network, you know this person, you have their contact, you can call them and say, I'm no longer in college and I need something to do. That is the way we need to look at it.
Okay. Looking at, of course, the fact that I think a lot of people are applying for the wrong job. They're applying the wrong way for this job. I get some emails. I was telling you this earlier in the green room. I get emails all the time on this show, tweets, the works. Yes. And I will literally look at the subject and the first sentence. And then I decide, okay, this person obviously took their time, good English, they're addressing the issue right up front. They haven't put their whole CV on the body of the email. They've attached a professional looking CV, and then we'll have a chat. But a lot of the times I just sift through based on the language. And millennials, sorry to say, young people, have a completely different language of approaching this. What can you say about what your experience has been and where that gap is?
That's my same experience, Kobe. Sadly, here is why. There's language for social platforms or social media platforms, and there's language for formal business. And I've encountered situations where we have had to disqualify a candidate because they had misspelled words in their application letter, or their CV was not flowing, or their CV was all in capital letters. You don't do that. So you can look for a professional to actually draft a CV for you. I draft for a lot of people's CVs for free. Younger people, I do it for free all the time to make sure it's correct to get somebody.
That's awesome.
And they can send after this and I can do it for them.
Okay.
And therefore, they have to avoid language or lingo that is not formal. You know, lingo, you know that thing that I see, and the grade GR8 or high, which is HAE. I'm like, which English is this? You know what? You've got to brand yourself. You've got to stand out of the crowd. Then somebody will be able to see you. Because everybody comes like for an interview, and I was interviewing young people not long ago, and one of them said, you know, ilikuwa ni kama like, I mean, And I was like, you know, you are so done. You are not in this interview going forward.
That person is no longer eligible for that job, right?
It's not. Yeah. Like coming for an interview with a nose ring. There's nothing wrong with that outside, have it. But when you're coming to a formal setup, you will meet baby boomers who are in their late 50s, going 60, and they would not think that that's how you should have come. However qualified you are, you can lose the job. So you've got to get somebody to guide you on the etiquette.
Right.
That is required as you're trying to bridge yourself between college and employment and to guide you. Okay. Luckily enough, at the Institute of Human Resource Management, actually we're in the process of designing a program to mentor young people and help bridge the gap between college and employment, because in between you need skills to make you or render you employable. And we would be happy when we launch that to support our younger people, including supporting them in drafting a CV. You know, people charge a lot of money to draft a CV. Do they have money? They just say they're not employed. Yes, exactly. And so they're supported by parents, perhaps. And so we need volunteers, professionals in HR like me, and I'm appealing to them, those who will be watching, that they need to volunteer. Okay. And we help our younger people draft their CVs, guide them, give them opportunities for internship, and give them hope. Yeah. I don't believe anybody will be 70 jobless, trust me. By the time you hit 26, you will have a job to do, you will have something.
Yes, I believe that. I believe that. There is, of course, and it's going on. We do have to address the fact that there are people who are not professional human resource managers or agents, and they're charging young people for even an application. They're charging people for an interview. You guys know that this is real. It's legitimate, and it's happening across this country. And it's not even because you know somebody. It is happening. How do we start to address some of these issues? How do we stop this cycle and really make the field a fair field for all these young people and everyone in this country who's unemployed to actually get work?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Kobe. One of the challenges in our country today is whether everybody will actually have employment in an office and sit behind a big chair, perhaps like I sit, because that's the challenge we're faced with right now. Right now in Kenya, we are at 17.3% in terms of unemployment. Actually, we are 6 times more than Uganda and Tanzania in terms of unemployment. And it's projected by, I think, 2032, we will have about 32.9 million will be jobless. But it's not that people should be jobless, but it's because we're also becoming too choosy. Life is changing, and I keep asking, what would make it so difficult for somebody who comes out of college to get about, 4,000 shillings and buy books or stationery and say, I'm selling stationery? I can give you an example. Some young people in my neighborhood, they come every Sunday to wash my car. And I pay, I think, about 300 or 250. They just put themselves together. They're in college, by the way. Some are in Daystar, and I know them. They come wash the car, go to another home, they wash the car, they get money. Another one sells eggs, and she's in university. And another one is supplying stationery to a certain venture. That I had somewhere, and she's in college. And so what am I saying? I'm saying we need to think beyond an office setup to sit, to work, but we need to make ourselves also add value to society and to ourselves and not be too dependent. We have all to start changing our mindset and attitude and say, hey, this is actually work. What is the focus? Earn an income. Put some money in your pocket and go to the next business and go to the next business. If you know how to sing, get to interact with other singers. But again, one other thing we must do is that we must learn to speak up. Don't be too scared. If you speak to somebody and they're unkind to you, it's their problem. Yeah. But if you spoke to Kobe and she's nice to you, you're lucky. If you spoke to Dorcas and she spoke nicely to you and you can create a conversation, it's great. Can I share a life story? I met this young lady in a forum. We held a forum and it ended, and she came to me and said, oh, please, I need your help. I said, how can I help you? What's your name? She happened to be Dorcas like me. She said, I have been searching for employment for a long while. I'm qualified in HR, but I keep getting told, you don't have experience. You are in the UK. Kenya is different. I said, no, that's not true. You're in HR, you're trained, you fit anywhere and everywhere. And I said, send me your CV. And she was very happy. Not that I had anything to give her, but I said, I'm sure I'll find somebody who would be looking. Yeah. A month later, I met a friend of mine, and she explained she was looking for somebody in HR, in this and that. I said, you know what? I know who you are looking for. And I gave her the CV. I said, this is the person. When she called this lady, she interviewed her. She said, Dorcas, I got somebody. That girl is the one I wanted. She's in a job right now in a big corporation, development sector, and she's very happy. Yeah.
Okay, so Dorcas, isn't she great?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Do you guys want to ask some questions? Yeah? Okay, great. Fantastic. So Dorcas, we're going to keep you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to keep you because you're awesome.
Kobe.
All right. You know, Dorcas, I was telling this lady here in pink, I said if she came in for an interview, I would probably give her the job. Doesn't she look lovely? She does. The way you look lovely, honey.
Very neat and
a lot of them
put
do.
together.
Yes,
she's
a lot
quite
of them
ladyish.
How you look is a huge impression.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about that arm of things when you walk into an office, even if it's not for a job interview, how people perceive you, their first impression. Why is that so important?
You never have two chances to make an impression. You usually have just one chance and make it the best you can make it to be. If I share my own story, is that every Friday, while it's dressed down where I've worked, I never ever wore jeans. Nobody ever saw me in jeans. And they begged. And I said, you want to see me in jeans? Come to the airport. When I'm traveling out, you will see me in jeans. Yeah. But what was that meant to be for me is that I was creating my own personal brand, really. And I'm my own brand. There's a particular way I dress and there's a way I can't dress. And that is it. And every time I'm always put together. Don't always assume that I'm just dashing to the kiosk. Nobody will be there.
Good head
you
to
could
toe.
find somebody. Well, I think this is my lowest. You would find somebody who might just wonder, is this the right person or what is going on? Especially if you're going to an office and you've been sent into town by your parent or whatever relative. Try to look a way that is so presentable. You just never know who you would bump into. Okay. All right. It's important.
All right. We have a few questions from our audience, and then we'll talk about, of course, the body and exactly what it is that they regulate. Right. Good morning. All right. I see a guy right here wearing a nice T-shirt. Do you have a question?
Thank you so much.
Go ahead. Hold the microphone right close to your mouth so we can hear you clearly.
My name is Sami Sambuli.
Okay.
And I am an actor because I studied acting. You know, I've tried a lot to send my CVs when I go to the interview. So they normally say to me that you're already an actor. Why are you looking for another job? You know. So how do I go? Because
do you have any work experience?
Yeah, I've volunteered in films.
Okay. And
at least, you know, acting nowadays, it doesn't pay it better because it is who you know.
Okay.
Thank you. You've got to be clear what kind of job you're looking for. So being an actor is too broad in itself. Where do you want to act? What type of acting is that supposed to be? Have you networked with anybody that is in acting? You know, sometimes you may not know somebody, but you've got to start sniffing around for where you can find them so you encounter them, to ambush them and say, hey, how are you? I see you acting. I'm an actor, I'm interested. You've got to be bold enough to start doing that. You can have it, but if you're going to the wrong place, again, you would not have an opportunity to have a door opened for you.
All right. For you particularly, I'm happy because Abel Mutua is here.
Yeah.
So maybe you can find him and talk to him after the show, right? And just find out how he made it. But you hear his story, I hope it inspires you. All right, we have a second question over here, do we? Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
Morning, Dorcas.
Good morning.
I have two questions, but they're linked. Question number one, you talked about being an HR and making sure that the staff is rewarded accordingly. But Kenya is among the countries listed to have the cheapest labor. Or what's your take on that, according to how Kenyan employees are remunerated? Then question number two, as an HR, where do you draw the line for your volunteers? If you do have volunteers where you work, because you'll go to an establishment and you have people who have volunteered there for up to 5 years. Someone would think they're an employee, but they are volunteering. Yes.
Great question.
Great, fantastic question.
When I see the crew clapping, I'm like, yeah, that was a really good question.
First of all, I wouldn't really say that Kenya is a country where most people are poorly paid, because I've had access to salary survey data and I've been involved in employing people. So we are really not, because if we were, then we wouldn't be one of the leading middle income earner countries, at least in the region. So that tells you we have, and the indicators are these. If you see people have the ability to shop in Nakumatt, if you see shopping malls sprouting everywhere and people are capable of going to buy, so that also indicates that we have purchasing power. So we are not the poorly paying in terms of income. It's just that there is a segment that for some reason is at the lower end, and so their income is not as high as the rest. But we are middle income earning country, and so that does not make us poorly paying, but as long as we are fairly paying for whatever the position is, that is what is important. Now, I think to address it perhaps to you as an individual is this way. Are you working in a place where you feel that your pay is not commensurate with the job that is on the table for you to do? And I think that's the question for me, HR professionals should be able to answer to, number one. Number two, it's also important for us as employees when we're working to also be cognizant of the fact that sometimes businesses are not doing well. So between shutting down and laying everybody off and paying everybody something at least to go home to at the end of the month is an option to be taken. And I can give an example. There is a time when Kenya Airways had to give an option to employees whether, somebody, we need to cut down pay, and it was in the public knowledge. Yeah. We can cut down pay and we all stay in work, or we can send everybody home. And those are tough choices for organizations to make, and especially like today. And therefore, Kenya is not really one of the poorly paying countries.
I like her second question about volunteering. Yes. There's people, yes, who volunteered for years. Yeah. The difference between a volunteer and an intern, an entry level. Okay. There's a lot there that's murky, and people are hiding behind this. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much. A great question. And people hide behind volunteership and internship. And so we take on somebody as a volunteer. You know what a volunteer is? Somebody who comes to work for you, and they are not expecting pay for whatever they are doing. But here are things that can go wrong. The liability of that individual within that workspace lies on the employer. If they fell and broke their back, okay, if they died within that workplace, if they fell sick, if there's an accident within that workplace, that's when employers realize the liability of having somebody who was volunteering and you did not even know that they had insurance to take care of that, and you've got to actually take care of all those issues. Secondly, they stay too long, and somebody should never volunteer for even 12 months. Okay, while our law does not say anything about it, and thank you, Kobe, it should be a short stint. They want to volunteer, learn something, understand, gain a skill, and move on to another level. When they are staying a year, 2 years, 3 years, what is happening is that you're starting to clearly make them think that they are an employee in that place. Now, what we call it technically is that you're creating a psychological contract. You're creating an expectation. It's not written, it's not explicit, but in their head, they are thinking, if 5 years down the line, you ask them, we don't need you here. You know what they'll ask you? Where do you want me to go? But I've been coming here, because human beings think like that. That's how we are wired. I've been coming here, I wake up every morning. That's why sometimes when people are laid off, they dress in suit in the morning, they go to the gate of that place or to a restaurant and stay the whole day, acting as if they're still working. And they go back home. And their family say, oh, they went to work. I said, but I thought they were laid off. Because psychologically, their minds are not set that way. So the danger is creating a liability you cannot manage as an employer. 2, you're creating an expectation or creating a psychological expectation that you will not be able to manage at the end of that long period. 3, it's not acceptable to use another human being in a place of employ without a reward to pay for the effort. Whether they made photocopies is effort, it needed to be rewarded, but you're not rewarding it. And that can actually cause a legal issue as well for employers.
And that's what I wanted to ask you. Representation, there is, we have KOTU, we have ILO, we have now HRM, who are everywhere. Log on to social media platforms, by the way, for us to connect you to Dorcas and her amazing team of people. But there is, if that happens to you, you can actually follow the law and get your dues. Isn't it true?
You can follow the law, but on a technicality, there's a question to be asked. Did anybody force you to go there? No. You went on your own? Yes. Every morning? Yes. But then this person is asked, and you allowed them to come here every morning, and you say yes, but they asked to come. The challenge is when something goes wrong. Now, that's when this person that you go to their workplace every day is in trouble. Okay. But if there's no trouble, the problem lies with you.
Okay, we're going to take another question. He looks so nice. He's wearing a great suit. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay, you have a question for
I have
Dorcas?
a question.
Okay.
So good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name is Robin Dongo. And my question is, what are the best characteristics that can make a person be competent for a job in Kenya?
Okay, good question.
Yeah, thank you.
Good question. First of all, as I always say, everybody is always technically competent for the job they have been prepared to take over in a workplace. But there are key ingredients that are going to help one survive in a workplace. One is honesty. You know, that you are honest in your time, you are honest in your deliverables, you are honest in your dealings with people in the workplace. Respect for your employer and for your colleagues. And if you are an introvert, you need to learn to be extroverts. Introverts don't have space in life. That is the truth, because everybody is looking for somebody who speaks and talks to everybody. I'm an introverted, for your information. I've just learned to be extroverted.
Really?
Absolutely. Okay. And so we've got to learn to speak up, contribute. Don't always say, you know, this is my job, I've got to stick to this. Learn to be a team player. These are what we are looking for in a workplace. Learn skills of being meticulous. You're writing a report, make sure it is beyond reproach to a certain level. Of course, your manager can correct you here and there. But also, and most importantly, work hard. I don't mean you slave away. By working hard, come to work. If it's 8 o'clock, your employer asks you, don't get into Facebook and WhatsApp and Twitter, and then you start working about 3 and you say, you know, I need to work overtime. By the way, we usually can tell who's working and who's not working, and that is the truth about it. So that when we have opportunities for promotion or for you know, going up, or giving somebody special assignments, it goes to somebody that we know has been committed and that was working when they were in the workplace. And these are some of the things that we've got to think about. But again, in the world of today, you've got to learn to mold skill. You know, why automation is rendering so many people jobless is because we are sad. But we don't realize, can I gain a bit more of skill? Okay, what is this automation? What would we be looking for? Because remember, when management are starting to automate, they usually have been telling everybody, we will be automating, we are going to set up this system, and this is what we'll be looking for. What made you not stand up and say, hey, let me go to a class and learn what this automation is? And when it comes, I said, by the way, I'm able to do that. And you're told, oh, really, you can? Yeah, so come, and you'll be doing that. But what happens is that tomorrow finds us, you are not ready for the opportunities when they come. Learn to do more than that. Learn to know how to at least troubleshoot a laptop or a computer. I had an intern who did not know how to switch on a computer. They had to struggle, and they were a graduate from a university. I wouldn't mention which. But, you know, learn more than that. Always go out of your way to help. And the people that stand out are the people are always saying good morning to everybody, including the CEO. How are you, sir? How are you? How was your night? The CEO will always remember, there's this young man that always says hi to me. What is with them? Then they could come. What are your interests? And let me tell you, when opportunities come, these are the people that everybody wants to grab. Not because that you had anything special, but because for some reason you're able to interact with everybody and say, how are you doing? Can I help you? You have so much. How is everybody at home? It's not easy to learn, especially when we are young. But we've got to start practicing little by little. Let me tell you, I was so introverted. Even in my first job, I was always just sticking to my desk. It was not getting me anywhere. If you're an introvert, you can read a book, Introvert. And I have that book, I read it.
Yay. Fanta, give it up for this awesome woman. Very insightful. Very insightful indeed. This is just the first of many conversations that we're going to have of this nature on this show, okay? We want you guys to connect with this amazing body, all right? They are the regulation body for human resource in the country. They're not just here in Nairobi, but they're across, and we told you that earlier. Log on to social media platforms to find out how you can connect to Dorcas Wainaina and her team. They're doing a lot of great work, so it's important that you guys engage. And if you are a human resource manager, if you work in HR and you just want to plug in, help out, look at some CVs, really, we need you. This country needs you, right? It's true, all right? It's true. But thank you for being here, and thank you for your time. We appreciate you, Sana.
Thank you so much.
You'll come back and visit us.
I will come and visit.
Okay.
Again and again.
Fantastic.
As I wait for their CVs to help them work them out.
Fantastic.
But in terms of my office, we are at Cardinal Otunga Plaza. It's at Holy Family Basilica compound. and
You need to say that again there, that camera over there.
Cardinal Otunga Plaza is where my office is, on 6th floor, and if we know where Holy Family Basilica is the same compound, and you would find me there. I'm always happy to actually talk to young people and support them in whatever little way, including giving them actually fare to go back home. I do that all the time.
All right,
Yes.
we love it. They're so happy. Kenyans are going to come to your office in droves. All right, for now.